Ooh, February. Interesting month. Anyone else feel like 2019 was like, are you sure? Are you sure you guys can handle this? Are you sure? Constant check-ins. But let's go over all the things. This will be a long video. I have a lovely cup of coffee and one of my favorite mugs that I finally got out of packing. Yes! Oh, so excited. And I have a bunch of notes on my phone so I remember to cover everything, because woo, it has been a month. There will also be some footage put in here probably about now. So I thought I'd get on here for a second and film this because it's the start of February and I had to give my 2 weeks at work, or my like 2 weeks, and now we're like negotiating things and I'm feeling very stressed out. And this is where I'm feeling the compulsion specifically to like buy food, I've noticed, which is interesting because I only allow myself to buy food when in my depth year, when it is like an experience out. Like that's the only reason I should be buying it. So if I'm like out with friends or I'm out with my family, out with a date, etc. and so forth, then yeah, I can buy the food. But I've already broken that several times. I got lunch 3 times in the month of January in the last week, which was after my last filming, because I was just stressed out and I knew that food would be a comfort. So I broke down and I bought like a $10 hamburger here, a veggie wrap here or there. And overall, I was just really irritated with myself for doing that. And I'm feeling it again today, like after I gave my 2 weeks and let them know I'm leaving as of yesterday. And I'm just feeling very, I don't know, my anxiety, I feel, is just kind of like, ooh. Feeling the urge to like go out and buy random things. I find myself online shopping a lot right now, which makes no sense. Like I put stuff in the cart and then I tell myself like, you can't buy anything. It's not on your list. It's not in allows. You don't have the time. So like going through this highly stressed moment right now where I'm packing and negotiating things, and there's so many things that I just want to like, I want to like, I don't know, do something to like ease the tension, and it's just like, I can't buy food. So I have to like cook at home, which I mean good, like I made ravioli and I handmade an Alfredo sauce because I didn't have any sauce at home. But all I want to do is like go out and like buy clothes, or even just like go online and buy clothes. I don't know. Beginning of February was just, until end of January, was a constant wondering if everything's okay. Stress levels through the roof. Nothing was really quite consistent. Everything was just up in the air. Maybe, maybe not. Final things were going. There was a lot of unexpected things that popped up in January for me, especially financially, that were just not quite what I was hoping for. And there's also, but not quite soon after that, was a lot of benefits that came around. I found out that one, I got to keep my current job and that I was going to be working remotely, which is yes, yes. And then I also realized then what that meant with the amount of money I had saved up. I had saved up $10,000 to do the move, to have a nice cushion of money until I found a job in case, and I didn't have to spend that on that anymore. And so there were some things where like I had a lot of credit card debt that I had reaccumulated. I had like $11,000 of debt that I had paid off in 2018, and suddenly like 5,000 of that was back. So I immediately took half of the 10,000 I had saved up, paid off all my credit card debt again, and so I still have a nice chunk of money in savings, which is great, but also I get to take care of the rest of my debt, and I still have a job currently with good consistent income coming in, which is very, very nice. So on my card for this month was the world. So definitely a completion and end of a journey, which makes total sense with the fact that it was a lot of wrapping up of my time in Arizona, a lot of just going through the day-to-day things, going through a bunch of stuff, and making sure that like my job was in order, my finances were in order, that I had everything packed and ready to go to move. And those major life shifts, no matter what, are going to stress you out. And the main thing I realized about that stress was that I broke my depth year, as you saw in the earlier clip. I ate out a lot of food. I didn't know what my job was going to do. I was in full-on panic mode, and where I put that stress spending wise, instead of meditating, getting a tarot reading, or like any of the things that were on my list that I could purchase or do without breaking my depth year rules, I decided, no, I need fast food. No, I need to go buy that burrito. I need to go buy that cheeseburger. I need to go do that and gorge on food that's not really all that healthy for me because I'm stressed, and I did it a lot. That, and what was it? The lovely Jessie Huttenberg put out a video about shadows with money in the witchcraft community, and talking about, you know, how people don't seem to want to spend on witchy services. Like there's this constant thing of wanting things for free, and then also like just not spending the money, or, you know, spending it on other things because for some reason they devalue the service that a lot of witches provide. I realized not so much that I devalued it, but I saw that certain things, experiences specifically, especially with my spirituality, felt so luxurious. They felt like something entirely out of my reach, that to splurge on a tarot reading from someone else instead of like reading my own cards, or to, and again, splurge, that word, it was something that wasn't supposed to be when I was stressed to spend money on, even though in my debt few rules I allow myself to do that. I totally allow myself to go get a tarot reading if I'm stressed. I totally allow myself to go out over here, speak to a spiritual counselor, or, you know, experiences are totally 100% allow my debt few rules. But no, that felt like a luxury, and I felt myself almost go do it at one point, and then I was like, no, I'm just too stressed. And guess what? Because I didn't do it, I went and spent a ton of money on food because that seemed okay, even though it's very much against my rules. Like, I don't know, my mentality in that was so interesting that stress-wise, I immediately gravitate towards things that I know turn around to set, like a week later when I feel better again. I'll be like, why did I spend all that money that way? Like probably in fast food in that week, I probably spent around 50 to 80 bucks, because $10 there, $6 there, and it all added up to one very stressful, expensive week and a bunch of takeout bags that was a single meal, and it wasn't all that worth it. It wasn't healthy food. It was just a whole bunch of really shallow consumption that didn't mean anything. And I could have gotten probably a couple of good tarot readings out of that if I wanted to. But no, the other thing felt like a luxury. So realigning my idea of what a luxury is, and also really looking into when I'm stressed, allowing myself that luxury. Because when you're stressed out, I don't know, I like almost limit myself even more. I'm almost like, no, you have to be super good right now because everything else is falling apart. So if you're really super good and structured with your life, then it will be fine. It's like, not necessarily. Like, sometimes you do get to treat yourself when it's a bad day, or let yourself have some extra luxuries. Let yourself relax because it's a hard time, as opposed to doing the constricting thing, and then when the first little tipping point falls apart, you continue to fall apart and not listen to the things you wanted to do in the first place. Makes sense, right? Ugh. Next thing on the list is books. Let's talk about books. I actually did do some reading in February and tail end of January, and I picked up the Dark Goddess book several times, and I realized one of the things I really love about that book, and also what doesn't work for me about that book right now, is the fact that they have like little journeys. Like there's this full-on description of these certain dark goddesses that you get to encounter, and it almost feels like I'm immediately taken in by reading the book. I'm almost like going on the meditative trip right then. It really brought up a lot of like huge revelations for me, which is great, fantastic. That's what I really want in a witchy spiritual book. But at that moment, I was already dealing with too much crazy mundane stress to deal with that right now. I don't have time or the mental capacity to handle a huge spiritual moment right on top of the ones I'm already dealing with stress and moving and going crazy and trying to make a whole new life for myself. Like there's a lot of things that I can't handle that at the moment. So I allowed myself to kind of step back from the spiritual books, and instead I picked up You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. First I started listening to it as an audiobook, and then when I finally moved and unpacked some things, I realized, oh no, I have the book right here. And so I reopened the paperback version of it and started reading it again as well. I haven't read the entirety of the book, and it wasn't on my list of books necessarily to read because I have read it before, so it's a reread for me. But that type of book right now is exactly what I need. I need a little bit of coddling with my literature. I need a little bit of, I don't know, self-care, a little bit of a reminder that, yeah, I am a badass. Here are some tools to help you get through social times. Here are some things to, again, allowing myself the luxury of investing or reading or getting into those types of things. And that's another thing that I really realized, was that I felt a big urge to re-enjoy things, and by that means like redo a lot of stuff. Right before I left, I made some major decisions about some of the things I was taking with me to Portland and some things that I was going to leave in Arizona and not do, and on trial basis is basically for the month of March. So I did not bring a TV with me. I am very, very bad about becoming a hermit and never leaving my apartment. And in Arizona, that was kind of strategic in a sense, because I found myself going out and meeting a lot of people and not enjoying their company. These were people who I had very little in common with, who did not see eye to eye spiritually, politically, even just hobby wise. Like, there was very little for us to connect on. I found myself again and again and again regretting the fact that I went out to meet up with random people at a bar and spend anywhere from, you know, $6 on a beer to like 15 to 20 on a cocktails, and coming back and being like, I spent all this money, I wasted that gas driving there and I did not have a fun time, and then really enjoying though the time then where I would maybe spend some time with my family or just sit on the couch and watch some Netflix or play a video game. And so the wasted money and like wanting to save money and be really good about it, and realizing that, hey, just because it's an interaction socially doesn't mean it should be a good interaction. Like, I don't need to have an interaction just to have interaction. It should be a good, in-depth, great interaction that I enjoy having. I should look forward to spending time with people, and I should look forward to connecting with others. And if it's a person I don't connect with, I don't have to spend time with them, which is fine, except for the fact that it definitely put me in a very hermity state, and it let me save a lot of money, and I lifted all the money I was saving from not going out, not spending on cocktails, and doing all those things. And then I would spend the money differently, where I spent the money on a plane ticket out to see my best friend in 2018, and I spent the money on a plane ticket to make sure I could go to my cousin's wedding that just happened in February. And so things like that, where it's like I was still spending on social interactions, but they were much more curated and direct. Whereas now I am now being like, oh, I need to maybe switch that up. Because spending on experiences is, again, what I allow myself. That is good. I should be spending experiences on making new friends, on connecting with others, on trying new things. And so I need to take away some of the hermity stuff that I love to do. So one of those things is, I do have quite a few different gaming systems. I've got an Xbox, I've got a PlayStation, N64 even, because I'm a little bit of an oldie with that stuff. And but I don't have a TV. I didn't bring a TV with me. I had one. I gave it to my parents, and then we donated it to a local recreation center. I use my computer for most things. I can watch YouTube videos, I can watch Netflix, I can watch all the things I still want to watch when I want to, but it's harder for me to hunker down with my computer, right? The other thing I'm not buying is, or bringing with, is a microwave. There's no microwave in this current apartment. This building that I've moved into is very, very old. And I want to make sure that I'm cooking my food and not getting into the habit of, oh, I ordered this from takeout and I can just reheat it type of deal. Like, even reheating the food that I do cook, like, I want to make sure that I don't know, like the act of cooking, I want to make sure to convince myself by just doing it over and over and over again that cooking is not hard, and cooking is not necessarily something like on the stove and in the oven that takes so much more time or is strenuous or whatever else. I can still do it, as opposed to constantly feeling the drag of that and being like, ugh, and then going and ordering food anyway. What that came up with right before I left was that I realized, oh, I wasn't gonna have video games to play with. I was taking away a thing I really, really loved for a little while to hopefully get myself to branch out and try new things. So I replayed a lot of games that I really loved. I replayed Dragon Age, I replayed, what else was it? Mass Effect. I replayed, what else did I dive into? I was playing Red Dead Redemption, the first one again. And so there's a lot of games like that where they have a certain nostalgia point for me, where I used to, you know, I played them when I first moved to California. It is fun to kind of like replay games knowing the story, knowing what's going to happen. It's still a great stress relief, but it was just so much fun to kind of kick back on the couch for my couple of last days in Arizona when I had a little bit of time. I gave myself that relaxed time and re-dive into all those things I really liked. And same thing with the book, with You Are a Bass, Pigeons and Zero. I also want to reread, what is it? A Big Magic. I really loved that book last year, and I think doing that, especially to get back into my creativity and know that I'm enjoying creating again, whether that's writing or really drawing. I haven't drawn in a really long time, and that was one of my things I really want to do in my death year, was get back into my creativity in that way. So I kind of want to reread that book to spark the inspiration and, like, one, get into the habit of reading and know that reading doesn't have to be this big upheaval with a revelation of some sort. Instead, it can just be, yeah, no, this is cool, this is good. Other things that came up that I'm also made me question and basically rethink a lot of how my lifestyle is going to be is that right before I was set to move out here, my brakes stopped working on my car, which was great and scary and expensive. So I had to basically drop $720 that I was not expecting to drop on top of the deposits from my apartment and deposits for all this other stuff. And it made me suddenly sit there and go, well, I should look at the map of where my apartment is and how walkable everything is. Because I've heard Portland is a very walkable city, but it's been a long time since I've lived in a city like that. I've always had to have a car basically since I left Chicago about 6 years ago, 7 years ago now. But I loved being able to take public transit and walk wherever I went in Chicago. Like, that was really great, and something I really enjoyed was not having to worry about parking or car insurance or, you know, all these extra expenses and stresses that come with having a car, and the maintenance and the gas and so much else. So when that came up as a maintenance cost, I was like, seriously? And I paid off my car in the summer of last year, so suddenly sitting there having to spend all this money because I need brakes to make sure I can make it to Portland with my car, I was like, well, maybe I won't bring it. I wanted to get more movement anyway, because one, now that I am keeping my job, I'm working remotely. I'm working out of my teeny tiny little studio apartment, and that means that there's not much movement happening on my day-to-day while I'm working. Like at all. No movement. Zero. So I need to make sure that I'm walking around a lot more, that I'm actually, you know, maybe joining some sort of classes at a gym, you know, something to get me actually up and moving, because I really do want to be more active. And so one of the ways that I'm hoping I'll do that is I've also taken away my car for a month. So for the month of March, I did not drive my car up here. It is still back in Arizona at my parents' place. They are allowing me to leave it in their lovely driveway for a month and a half-ish time. And I'll see if I ever feel the craving to have a car here. A lot of people I've talked to have said, yeah, no, I brought a car and then I parked it somewhere and literally it sat there and never moved. It just sat and sat and sat. And 6 months later, I was like, I've driven this car once, so why do I have this? So I decided, okay, well, instead of putting the miles on it in Arizona, I will leave it there. If I suddenly feel the need to have a car, if I'm like, oh God, having a car right now would be so much better or so easy, then I will eventually fly back down to Arizona, go get my car and find a way to drive it up here. But if that's not going to happen, then I will sell it and hopefully have more activity just walking around and all that other stuff too. So basically, overall, I have no TV, no microwave, and no car, which will be interesting challenges. All things that I think spark a lot of convenience, and I am looking to really change my lifestyle. The depth here has made me think as a whole, what are the things that I would rather, I don't know, hold up, and like what are some of the conveniences, I guess, that are limiting me in that way? What are some things I could possibly take away or limit or just refocus myself so that I can then live a lifestyle that I've really wanted and I really enjoyed for previously or would like to now enjoy a lot more. What else did I have on my lovely thing? Oh, migraines. One thing that I had mentioned in my last depth year check-in was the migraines, and they definitely still persisted. I had 2 in the month of February, and they were right around that stress time, so that makes a lot of sense. Right after I found out about my job, I felt like a lot of things just kind of went like steps. Like that's what the stress levels did. As stressful as it was to put all that money down in an apartment, I was like, you know what, now my apartment is locked in, like boom, done. Stress level had dropped. The minute I put my 2 weeks in at work and they gave them the time to decide whether they wanted to keep me or not keep me, that was another boom, done. The minute I had all my boxes packed up, that was another one, done. And so like as the stress level has slowly but surely dropped, like I had to unpack a bunch of boxes. There's still some other unpacking that I need to do. It's a little bit of organizing and stuff, but a lot of things have kind of settled in now, and I just feel like my shoulders have dropped. It's a lot less of that whole stress all the time, which is great. And that has severely lessened the migraines, which is good. Also, I have been very conscious of the amount of vegetables I am eating. I still need to drink a shit ton more water. Like, I'm pretty sure you guys can see, like I've heard that like water helps with like dark circles and bags. They're still very much prominent because my water intake has been crap. But I have been eating a lot more vegetables, and I feel a lot more energy. I feel a lot more, I don't know, alert, I guess, in a sense, which makes a lot of sense. Probably have been very nutritionally deficient for possibly a few months. I also needed probably all that nutrients and stuff just to make sure the migraines would stop. So they've definitely lessened. They still appear if I like sleep a little funny, or I've also noticed red wine. Unfortunately, I love red wine. It's no longer a thing I can do. That has been pushed to the wayside instead for really good beer or yummy cocktails if I do want to imbibe in a little bit of boozy fun, which works perfectly well for me. I love beer, and now I live in Portland. There's plenty of good beers to try, and there's also really weird artisanal funky hipster cocktails here, which I'm sorry, sometimes when I see something I'm like, that is so freaking weird, food wise, drink wise, I'm like, I need to try it. I need to know, why is it so weird? Why would you put that with that? That makes no sense. And honestly, 90% of the time it's delicious. So that'll be another fun thing to hopefully tap into. And it's fun how I'm like using, like, I can't have red wine anymore, sucks. But I'm using it as like a flip side of that. So what's the benefit? Like really focusing on the benefits and the depth of the thing I want. Like that's what I'm really looking into. And I love that that's what this, I guess this month has taught me, is overall is stresses has come up. Things have just really derailed me, and it has been a struggle. But looking into the lifestyle I want and where my priorities really are, and showing up for those things with my time, my energy, and my money to make sure that I'm putting it where it should go, I think is important. And by should, I mean like should for me, because right, like if you are a person who's like, I really enjoy fast food, and it's perfectly reasonable for me to do it, and I don't overindulge, like cool, great for you. But for me, it's always been a crutch that I've used, and I've had to, you know, confront a few shadows about why do I think spiritual services are such a luxury? Why do I feel such fear with meeting new people, going outside? Like, why do I do such a hermity thing all the time? And why do I feel the urge to, you know, revisit some things and maybe feel, I don't know, like that drain, I guess, on myself, you know, that constant like, oh, I need to hide from the world, I can't interact with others, I need to really pace myself, or you know, and again, that all comes with like not spending money on the outside. Like if I leave my house and spend some money, I'm going to have wasted the money, I'm not going to enjoy my time out, and I should have just sat home and had a nice cup of coffee that I made myself with some Netflix and been done. It's like, no, you do need to experience fun new things. You do need to spend money on experiences that you really value. And if you're not going to show up and put your time and effort in the things that you say are your priority, then maybe they're not your priority, and you need to relook at that. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've really kind of, I guess, recognized in this depth here. So March will be very interesting. I'm kind of hoping to, one, settle in my new place, settle in my new work life mode. You guys will probably be getting my new morning routine, my new night routine in my new apartment, possibly a little apartment tour once I have made it shiny and happy again. And let's see, is there anything else I missed on my list? Oh, the other thing I purchased, which kind of an exception, kind of not, I don't know, I feel like this is like a borderline purchase, so I wanted to mention this real fast. So health is one of those things, like I said earlier, I wanted to make sure I'm moving things, not spending so much money on gas and all that stuff, and no car, more walking, good. But also, some of the things I wanted to definitely make sure I spent stuff on was a way to track my health effectively. And so my best friend had this thing called the Arbo scale thing, and it like tells you like how much muscle mass you have, how much water's in your body, like you step on it and it scans you and it knows these things. And I find scales really helpful. I know some people find them really toxic to use or wherever else, but I like knowing what the numbers are doing because it, I don't know, seeing the constant like up and down of things makes me go, oh, that's right. Just because I've gained a lot of weight is not because I've gained fat, because clearly my body has not changed in shape all that much. Like I'm a little bloated, but like it's not that big of a drastic difference. So gaining the 5 pounds in a few days or something is not scary. It's what a body naturally does. It's fine. Things fluctuate. So I got that scale specifically because, one, drinking more water, so it yells at me, it says water low. And two, it's nice to know like what my body composition is, which is a bit slightly concerning at the moment when I look at the things off the scale. But that scale was $40 on Amazon, and it's been very, very useful to me so far. I have not found it to be a toxic thing to track with. I get on it, I haven't gotten on it this morning. When the last time I got it? 2 days ago? So I get on it like once every 2 days. I probably like weigh myself 3-5 times a week just to check like what's my water level doing, have I gained some muscle mass from working out and climbing all those stairs and stuff to get the boxes into my apartment. And I think it's really helped with my health. So it was something that like I didn't necessarily put on my exceptions list, but it's definitely helped my life a lot so far and really helped me be positively mind focused about my health and getting into a more fit state. So I definitely think it's a good purchase. I think that's kind of the fun part about the depth here, is that it doesn't necessarily have to be a no buy or a low buy, even though that's some kind of a part of mine. It's also the adaptability of it, and for me to be able to look at things in a more in-depth way and go, okay, so does this really give credence and not credence, I guess, I don't know, does this benefit me? Does this benefit my life, or does it just hinder me or give me a little bit of instant gratification where something else would actually help a lot more type of deal? Anyway, that has been my February depth view review. I have a couple other thoughts that came up that are on this thing, but I think they could be their whole other video for them. So I will be probably linking in one of these little things a playlist for my depth year in case you missed my other reviews or other random little thoughts about it. I'll put all the depth year stuff for 2019 in there. And I make new videos twice a week. New podcasts go live every single Wednesday. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.